Outlast Trials just released, and with it came some new experiments and content to get into. However, in this video we will be breaking down what exactly happens within the very first trial, Snitches get Stitches, and what the player and character are tasked with doing to continue onwards. And since this is the very first trial, let's provide some context to who you are within the Outlast Trials. Firstly, the Murkoff Corporation has created a secret facility that is comprised of dozens of warehouses, underground tunnels and rooms, and have given the control of the facility to a Dr. Hendrik Jolier Easterman, and he is in desperate need of a few test subjects. As their previous batch of reagents consisted mainly of psych ward patients and generally the clinically insane, Murkoff realized that their objectives of brainwashing were futile with these kinds of patients, instead opting for people that Easterman describes as meaningless, essentially people that are viewed in society as vanquishable, unloved and unformed. If they went missing, nobody would notice, care, or more importantly, investigate where they went. This is where the player comes in. We are the described meaningless people, and the first point of action for Murkoff after acquiring their new reagent is to install a pair of night vision goggles onto their skull, which more times than not is actually second hand. Gross. After which you will be awarded with your new domicile, fitted with weights, a sink, and whatever the hell you want to spend your Murkoff dollars on, after they reward you for your efforts in the trials. But to be honest, this is probably a lot nicer than whatever the regents were living in prior to being abducted, so I guess we can find a single positive in this whole thing. Now that we have the brief background of how you ended up here at the facility, let's get into the very first trial that Murkoff sends their freshly acquired regents. After being formed into a group of 4, you, along with your 3 other regents, are sent via a train system to the warehouse. During the ride, you'll be bound to cheers and shown a brief video on screen from Dr. Easterman mixed in with subtle brainwashing images that are played throughout the facility. He will explain to you that your job during the trial is that of the exterminator, enforcing that only what they tell you is true, before explaining that there is a snitch inside the prison, preparing to testify against Murkoff's truth. And if we want freedom, we need to go and kill the snitch. As the TV screens go back to the roof, a chemical agent is released inside the carriage that causes hallucinogenics. Now, it's important to understand and to remember that Murkoff is attempting to create a type of super soldier that will do whatever they ask of them. So the idea that the regents will be rewarded for killing a snitch that is supposedly responsible for trying to testify against Murkoff is most likely viewed as a suitable starting place to condition the regent's mind to serve Murkoff and his interests. After our tripping out sessions, we arrive at the first of Easterman's trials, Snitches get Stitches. As you will notice, the surrounding area is filled with mannequins and television screens that create quite a scene, much like you would see in a movie. However, not everybody inhabiting this space is a friendly mannequin that can't hurt you. It's also filled with bodies of previous regents that have failed, and numerous people that will attempt to attack you, hinder you, and just straight up murder you. While it's not directly stated who the smaller enemies are, it is alluded to being the first generation of Murkoff's regents, comprising mostly of asylum and psych ward patients that Easterman failed to properly convert using his brainwashing program due to there being too much trauma already. Once inside, we make our way to the security room and we can set our eyes on the very first prime asset, essentially Easterman's failed test subjects of the early stages of Project Lathe, but instead using them to test the regents. We will be doing a video breaking down who these people are more in depth in the future, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, this is Leland Coyle. He's absolutely nuts, thinks that he's the commanding officer of this place, and gets a little too excited at the idea of electrocuting people with his shock baton, which is his weapon of choice. He is currently guarding the snitch, and we need to get to the snitch and begin wheeling him to his demise. But Murkoff has understandably put a lot of obstacles in our way, like turning off the power, which requires the regents to head down into the basement to refuel and rewire the generators. Coyle and numerous other ex-regents will be scattered throughout, so the whole thing can be incredibly dangerous. You can even find numerous instances where Murkoff employees are watching you as you make your way through the facility taking notes on your performance. Once your team has managed to refuel these generators, you'll need to make your way back upstairs to the snitch and begin pushing him along the rails. Eventually you'll be blocked by a gate, If you look towards the television, it will show the reagents a symbol that will represent the correct body that contains a key. Those keys will open gates throughout the police station that will allow you to continue pushing the snitch throughout. If you get the body wrong, then you will instead pull a device out that will give you a bit of an electric shock. Something that I found interesting in the first trial was a security guard stationed outside the trial's confines. He mentions that if you get close enough, that the walls are not there to keep you in. Instead, it's to keep the outside world out, further signaling the need for secrecy for the whole endeavour to work. A few gory searches later that I will unfortunately have to blur because of YouTube, we can get the gates that will allow us to get the snitch all the way through the facility, while Coyle will do everything in his power to stop you. At the end of the line is a giant electrical chamber that acts like an electric chair. 4 handles are available to use in order to create a charge that you need to hold the handle down for long enough to cause a fatal reaction on the snitch. Once you have yourself a fried snitch, you can make your way back to the shuttle while trying to avoid the people that are ultimately there to kill you along the way. And once you make it back successfully, you've officially completed the very first trial that Murkoff has set out for you, eliminating a threat that was attempting to expose Murkoff's interests, already planting the brainwashing seed into the mind of the regent. Depending on your rating, Easterman will speak to you afterwards, as you are sent to the evaluation room to be cleaned, stripped of your items and monitored before being released back into the sleeping quarters with the other participants. Murkoff gives the regent a form of currency that can be used to purchase new items for their room and person after each trial as well. However, that is not the final task of the Snitches Get Stitches program. There are 2 MK challenges included for the regent, the first of which is cancel the autopsy, which sends the regents back to the facility that is hosting Leland Coyle. Easterman briefly mentions on the ride that it doesn't matter what it is that you serve, whether it be a yearly salary, possibly an appetite, a passion, or even an actual god in heaven. You have to choose a master before asking to show him how we serve. When we arrive, we can find a few people hanging upside down above the grinder. These are described as agents, and it is reinforced that corpses offer forensic evidence, and Murkoff is essentially asking you to help turn that evidence into, sludge. The task is simple. You collect the keys in the different rooms, much like you did in the first trial, unlock the levers that will lower the agents. Once again, the corridors and rooms are filled with numerous dangers that can quite easily end a regent's participation in a heartbeat, but once you collect the keys and do as you're told, you can once again head back for the evaluation. And this is the new daily life for a Murkoff regent, forced to abide by the rules of Dr. Easterman until it becomes second nature. The third and final requirement of the Snitches Get Stitches program is to sabotage the lockdown. This tells the regents to return power to the facility by repairing the generators and enabling their escape from prison, which in hindsight seems really counterintuitive on Murkoff's part. I mean, teaching your own prisoners how to escape captivity, but given Murkoff's end goal was to send these regents out to the public and utilize them on missions that could possibly get them captured, I suppose it makes sense. I won't go much more into the third challenge since it's pretty straightforward, but that is the total of what encompasses the story and task provided to you in the Snitches Get Stitches program of Outlast Trials. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you, and let me know that you got here by writing Coyle in the comments down below. I will be doing similar videos of the other 2 programs available in the release, and at the end I will do a complete story breakdown of all of the documents and small story details scattered within the trials, as well as some character deep dives as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We do all sorts of fun story breakdowns over here, and even consider throwing a like on the video as it helps our growing channel so much. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Peace.